we absorb everything that is in our environment. And so all of that is getting stuck in your subconscious mind, everything that goes on from 0 to 7. So I've thought about this a lot with you, is like, you come out with this amazing talent. You're in a household where there's a lot of mental anguish, which a lot of kids grow up in. And then you're catapulted out into the world in this very surreal way.
That was, my dad was a hunter. So he saw me sing and then went hunting after and left, and then came home to me with this massive trophy that was like 5 times the size of me. And he asked me at that point, like, is this what you love? And of course, my 5-year-old self was like, yeah. I mean, if I can win a trophy for that, absolutely.
I want a big trophy, Dad.
Right. So I think that there's so many layers to why I do what I do. I think I had a natural gift for it. I think I really did love music. And I also knew that that was a way for me to receive love. I'm an only child. So it was always like the achieve. So I played softball competitively. I took piano lessons. I was dancing, I was singing. So there's always something going on. At some point, my parents looked at me and were like, you have to drop something. So yeah, there was a constant, achievement.
And so from 0 to 7, all that programming gets instilled in our brains, and then it plays out the rest of our life. So do you feel like you sing now to get love?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely have done that. And there's always a component to that.
Yeah.
But that's really shifted for me. I feed off the crowd. Like I feed off of that energy. And I sometimes will just go to a really dark place if people aren't giving me that energy back. And I'll start to spin in my head about, what's wrong with me. And I'm not, am I not entertaining enough, and all of those things. And I found myself singing for myself at that point. Yeah. And I don't know if I could have done that or been in that space or headspace if I hadn't already found this sense of love that comes from within. Mm-hmm. Because it was enough for me to want to be good for myself. Mm-hmm. And
that's amazing.
That's a new shift. Yeah. It's a totally new shift. Because I think I really, search for that validation externally. And now it's like, oh, I could, be singing for nobody and just want to be good for me and validate myself. And so that's a big shift.
That's huge. Like when you told me that the other day, I was like, how many shows have you done? And you did one for you is really amazing. And don't you wish you could go back to your 20-year-old self and tell her that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cause I mean, I can't tell you the times that I've been on stage and I would search out in the crowd, like everybody who looked like they weren't having a good time or looked like they didn't want to be there. And it created this narrative in my head about how there was something wrong with me.
Wow.
I mean, and there was, because I've been through so much publicly, and, to have my name dragged through the media like it has been. And at that time, I think that created this perfect storm where I did have this, if people were coming to the show, obviously they wanted to be there. But for me, it was like, look for people who judged me because I was judging myself so harshly, ultimately.
But this is what happens, I think, with that subconscious programming, is that you look to validate it. And you don't even realize you're doing it. So like the fact that you had it was like a pattern interrupt to your nervous system. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you've done this before from stage, but to be able to say, I don't need the audience to show up a certain way. I'm going to do this for me. Have you ever done that before in a show?
No, it's a new thing. I've been noticing a pattern for me is withholding love, and it's actually very painful because ultimately I think all of our nature is loving, so you don't want to give it out because you think ultimately there's, in my mind, the word that comes up is I'm going to be destroyed. So that noticing that pattern and being able to, like you said, interrupt it, I've noticed that I'm very aware that the withholding, even from stage, it creates, like I said, these narratives in my head that hurt more than if I just give myself all of myself, no matter what is coming back at me. And it feels good. Like it feels good to just know that I did my best with what I have at that moment in time. But sometimes, I mean, Saturday night when I experienced this, I was exhausted. I was so tired. I had no energy. So it's, you know, that's when I really need that. I thought I did. I need that energy from the crowd.